1-2 punch, catch a nice smallmouth out of Lake St. Clair. Game plan today is try and find a good school of them where we can catch a lot of them in one place. Oh my goodness, dude, those are not perch. Yep, they are too big to be perch. It's really like finding a needle in a haystack, but the fun part is that when you find that needle, there's a whole lot of needles with it. Man, we are out on Lake St. Clair, one of my favorite lakes in the entire country. We're about ready to head, I would say 20 miles across the ocean to get into Canada to look for some untapped smallmouth. You know, the last couple years, or last 2 years, year and a half, Canada has been closed and has not had a lot of pressure. The Michigan side has gotten pounded the last, like I said, year and a half, 2 years. So we're gonna run over, hopefully find some untapped smallmouth and trying to accomplish, a couple things. Catch, a big smallmouth and find a good school with a lot of numbers in it where we can catch a lot of those 2.5 to 3.5 pounders. So setting our goals kind of high, but this place is worth it. It has a lot of big fish, so let's see what happens out there. I'll crank and then the next drift I'll throw the drop shot. It's like a straight east wind right now. That's weird. Oh, there's one. There we go. Those were smallmouth I saw out there. Saw them on Panoptics out there. There's a group of about 5 of them actually. Not a big one. Come on. Haha, I got him. So basically what I've been doing is I've been cranking this morning and then made a couple drifts on there. Didn't get a bite, but I saw some fish. So I picked up the drop shot. Right here, I saw a group, about 4 or 5 of them on Panoptics, the Yamamoto Shad Shape Worm, and first cast on them, I got them. Not a big one, but 2.5 pound smallmouth, healthy one. See if we can get a bigger one. What's crazy about St. Clair is that it's a massive body of water. It's a really big lake, but the whole thing, I would say 90% of it is just featureless. It's sand with some grass in areas. There's no rock. The middle of the lake is 18, 20 feet deep. So the whole lake is shallow and featureless. So really what you have to do is you get out here, and my favorite thing to do is crank to find a group of fish. Sometimes they don't bite it, so you need to throw a drop shot or a tube. This area right here, I made 2 passes on it with the crankbait and didn't get a bite, but I was seeing fish on Panoptics. So it kind of told me that they didn't really want to bite or chase the crankbait. And I don't think I fished a drop shot for 5 minutes. Saw a group of them swimming out there on Panoptics and was able to catch a fish. But really, for me, the best way to fish this lake is to pick a zone that you want to fish. And what I'll do is I'll fish a 1/4 mile and I'll run a 1/4 mile. Fish a 1/4 mile, run a 1/4 mile. So I'm fishing little stretches over a big area. And then once I get a bite, then I try to fish around that area more to see if there's more fish there. And a lot of times when you're fishing out here, you'll go a long time without catching one because it's really like finding a needle in a haystack. But the fun part is that when you find that needle, there's a whole lot of needles with it. Holy. Oh, one hit it right there under the boat. I'm going down, look at that. He hit it and missed it. See if he gets the drop shot. No, I saw him going down, look. He's gonna, where is he? It's a good one too. So that one nipped at my crankbait and I missed him. Let's get him in the boat first. It's a 3-pounder. Come here. I got you. Oh, he's not quite 3 pounds, but that was a fun one. I winding the Lucky Craft 2.0 XD around. It's probably a little too deep here. It's 20 feet deep. I like to run that thing in about 17 feet of water, but he nipped at it right as I was, getting it close to the boat and started to pull it up. He nipped at it. And when I reeled the crankbait in, I could see the bass going down on my 2D, on my Garmin. I picked up the drop shot with a Yamamoto Shad Shape Worm and got him. But I'm really trying to cover water with the crankbait and get around a group of these active fish. Once I find those active fish, I'll see how many I can catch on the crankbait and then come back and kind of clean up with the drop shot. So still moving around trying to find that group of fish. Another quality smallmouth here on St. Clair. Not the giant ones we're looking for, but we got plenty of daytime left. There's one. There we go. How big are you? Oh, he's not that big. Go. Finally got one on the crankbait. I've had a couple nip at it. Got in what I think is a better area here. Had a few bites on it, nipped at it, and finally caught one. He's not that big, but he chased it down. So hopefully we're getting pretty close to the mother load here. I hope so. I meant to actually hold it. The one trick for cranking for smallmouth out here is, I wind pretty fast, lots of stops. To me, the smallmouth are like a cat. They like to chase things that are moving. And, real fast winds with lots of pauses is how I like to fish out here and cover a ton of water. When you're fishing a featureless lake, you can't idle around and find structure out there. It's all the same depth. It's all sand with a little bit of grass. So covering water is a really big deal. You got to move around to find those active fish. But with smallmouth, wind, stop, wind, stop, wind, stop, just constantly moving that thing. And I'm using an 8-foot Tatula Elite cranking rod that I designed for Daiwa, specifically for this kind of scenario. Making a really long cast, 8-foot rod, long handle, Tatula Elite reel, which is designed for distance casting. The combination of those things are perfect when cranking for smallmouth, covering a lot of water. The longer that bait is in the strike zone, the better your odds of catching one. And speed is key for sure. Lots of pauses though, because they like to chase it. When you pause it, they'll run into it. When they run into it, they don't have an option but to just kind of open their mouth. So one thing to try for cranking for smallmouth like this. Oh, you little. Watch this. You just flashed on it right there. I saw him with my eyeballs. He wasn't big. You always got it too, look at that. Little guy. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. So, again, covering water with the crankbait and keeping the drop shot basically at the ready. In fact, I have it dangling kind of over the side, so I don't have to, you know, take it off from being attached down here and then I'm letting it dangle off the side. So all I have to do is just set the crankbait down, grab the drop shot and drop it. And that one I didn't see on the graph. I actually saw him with my eyeballs chase the crankbait and just immediately dropped the drop shot and he got it. One thing to think about with a smallmouth is paying attention to where you get the bite on your cast. And one thing that they're notorious about is, especially when it's sunny, you make a long cast out there, start winding it, stop it, wind it, stop it, whack, they get it right then. And that to me says that they're looking up. And a lot of the bites happen like that. You know, when it's sunny, smallmouth tend to look up. They're not really, they sit down toward the bottom, not necessarily on the bottom, but their attention is up the whole time. And when it's cloudy, you'll start to notice that you make a cast out there and he doesn't hit it in that first, you know, 10, 20 winds. He hits it halfway to the boat, or like today, a lot of the bites have happened right at the boat, which means that it's at the peak depth that crankbait's gonna get to. Pay attention to that. If they're not hitting it out there at the end of your cast early in the wind, they're biting it down at the bottom, you might want a deeper running crankbait because they're closer to the bottom. When they're closer to the bottom like that, you need a deeper running crankbait that will be in the strike zone for longer. This here is the brand new Lucky Craft 2.0 XD for extra deep. Now the 2.0 is the size of the body, which is a brand new crankbait for Lucky Craft, but it has a bunch of things that are, you know, characteristics that make this a new bait that are an effective bait. And one of them, let's just go through the whole list of things. The size. This is more of a finesse crankbait for a deep diver, meaning that most of the deep divers are bigger crankbaits. This is a little bit smaller, but gets to those depths of some of those deeper ones. The reason it gets to those depths is the weight system. There's 3 weights in here, one here, and one right there on the front. So a lot of the weighting is on the front of this bait, which keeps that bait nose down, which helps promote that thing getting deeper. Now the other thing is a very, very, very thin lip. Having that thin, lip, that thin bill, helps it dive faster. So the weight plus the bill get this bait deeper. And by doing that, you can have a smaller body bait and get to those deeper depths. So this is somewhere around that 14 to 16 foot running crankbait. Most baits that go that deep are quite a bit bigger, and that's the whole point that Lucky Craft tried to make, is they wanted a bait that could be fished around heavily pressured fish that won't bite those bigger ones, and basically get more fish to bite it. So the 2.0 XD, brand new from Lucky Craft. This happens to be a ghost minnow. The thing I like about it too is you can wind it really fast and it won't roll. Brand new from Lucky Craft, great crankbait. This is the first time I've ever thrown it. It's been out here, and I've really enjoyed it. It's a good crankbait, and I'm anxious to get this thing out there and catch another one. Saw that one out there on Panoptics. That water's a lot clearer here. We moved to another area. The water's quite a bit clearer. And so far I've caught a walleye and a little smallmouth, both on the drop shot, because I saw them on Panoptics. I haven't even really had a chance to crank yet because I've seen enough fish down there to start pitching the drop shot around. Just a little one though. Some more work ahead of us, but keep my eyes open and looking out there, seeing if one will chase a crankbait, or if I see him down there on Panoptics. It's amazing how effective that, using your Panoptics here for smallmouth. You can see them from so far away, and smallmouth are such visual feeders that if you see one, you cast it even remotely close to it and they'll chase it down and get it. See another one right there. Two of them, 2 or 3 of them right there. Got it. The drop shot setup for me is pretty basic, and not even just a drop shot, but a lot of spinning applications across the board are all the same for me. And that's a 7-foot rod, 7-1 is what I normally use. Medium action, because it's that broad spectrum. You can use a little bit heavier baits, you can use lighter baits. It's that one just kind of right in the middle that's a multi-purpose. And then the reel size, I use a 4000. I use the Tatula LT 4000. It's a bigger reel. I like it because I feel like you have more control over the fish. On the smaller reels, I feel like they are in control the entire time and you're lucky to get them in. With this, I feel like I have more power over the fish. I can also cast it farther because of the bigger spool. I always like a 12-pound braided line to an 8-pound fluorocarbon leader. And this right here, typical nose hook drop shot. You know, just pin the bait on the front. I like a size 2 g-finesse Gamakatsu hook. This happens to be a Yamamoto Shad Shape Worm. It's a great little smallmouth bait. It's a great size, great color. I like the two-tone colors like that. Kind of an olive back with a pearl belly. Seems to be just a good all-around color for smallmouth. And that's just a basic drop shot setup for me. You know, if I'm doing anything else, the setup is the same. If it's a shaky head, a NACO rig, a weightless rig, it's with the same setup. A medium action rod, 7-foot rod, 4000 size reel, 12-pound to 8-pound. That's the standard setup for me. Any kind of, you know, finesse spinning rod related techniques. And here's no exception, fishing for smallmouth, cranking until we see one and then drop on them and catch them. And if I get around the right group and it calms down, I'm gonna use pan optics and scan around and hunt for them and cast individual fish and catch them. So still on the prowl now, looking for a school of them. We'll see if we can go find them. And the drop shot is such an effective tool out here for these smallmouth. One way is just fishing it. You know, a lot of times I'll just get with the wind and just drag it. You know, and I drag it along, and when it hits a clump of grass, I'll pull it and let it sink to the bottom, and then I'll shake it a little bit and then just kind of drag it again. I'm just going through a zone where I think that the fish are, and just drag that thing, shake it a little bit, pull it, drag it, shake it. And the whole time I'm doing this, I look at pan optics as well as 2D. So pan optics, I can scan around to see if I see a fish. And then 2D, looking straight down, if one comes to the boat. And the reason they come to the boat, especially when it's sunny, is they like the shade. They see the shade, but then I always crank my hydro wave up really high. And what happens is those fish hear it from a long ways away, and they come to it. They hear the hydro wave, they come to the boat, and then they're curious. They come up to the hydro wave and look at it. Well, it's on my trolling motor. So when they come up and look at it, I see them on 2D. So I'm always staring at 2D and pan optics to see. If it's on pan optics, I know where to cast to them. If it's on 2D, when they come up to the hydro wave, then I just reel in real fast and just drop straight down to them. Now, when I drop to them, if they don't bite it right away, I leave it down there and just keep shaking it. And sometimes it takes a couple, you know, 10, 20 seconds for them to actually bite. But a good percentage of them, when they come up and look at the hydro wave, it's as soon as it hits bottom, they get it. So we came back out to the grounds here to start fishing again. That storm passed. It's back northeast of us right now. It was real bad wind. I mean, right now I can see it's real rocky out here. It's the aftermath of that storm blowing through. We hit out the storm there for a little bit. We're back out to where we want to try and find some of these fish and find some schools and do the same thing, same game plan. We're going to crank and throw a drop shot and hopefully find a good school of them. So I haven't really exactly found something that looked perfect. You know, we're out here kind of running stuff where I fished in the past. We've fished a lot, run a lot, you know, just run and fish. And just now I've gotten to an area that I really like the way this grass sets up. If you see here, there's real patchy, splotchy grass on my side view. It's all sand in between. See, there's big clump here on down view, clump, and that's sand, another clump. This is the type of stuff that if you were to run around and look for something, that's a good area to start fishing, just because it has good looking definition to it. Just lots of variables. You have the grass, you have sand, it's clumpy. Instead of just fields of grass, and instead of just fields of nothing but sand, you want something that's kind of that in between. Another thing to look for is clumps of real tall grass, the cabbage grass. That's always a good thing as well. So this looks perfect right here. Let's give it a shot and see what happens. Oh, they're coming to get me. There we go. It's a better one. Saw them all on Panoptics coming to get it. It was hilarious. There's more down there too. There's a good group of them there. Come here. There we go. Swing it in there. It's a nice one. Oh man, there we go. Well, I picked the drop shot back up. You know, I had several bites on the crankbait, but they kind of quit biting it when that sun went away. But man, be sure when you throw that crankbait 2.0 XD, make sure that you change out the trebles on that thing. I like that G-finesse, that Aaron Martin's treble that Gami makes. I use the medium heavies. Make sure you do that. You'll land more of these. But they put on good fresh hooks like that when you run that crankbait. Use the drop shot as a backup bait. Catch some nice ones. Little guy. There we go. Boy, that's a fat little guy. Well, look at that one. Look how fat he is. Brave the elements out here. I think we're running out of daylight. Never found a giant school, but it's been a lot of fun. Did a 1-2 punch. We cranked a bunch. Had the drop shot for a backup bait. Saw some on Panoptics. Saw some on 2D. Was able to drop to them. Saw them chasing the crankbait. Was able to drop to them and catch them. Also caught a few on the crankbait. So 1-2 punch. Catching nice smallmouth out on Lake St. Clair. If you like what we did here, give us a like. Follow along. Check out the other vlogs. Be sure to enter in for the drawing for some product as well. Check out all the stuff that's on there. We'll see you next time.